Excellent. So let's get into it. So my name's Brad. I'm the team leader of the global learning team. We have kind of three different streams. We have an inbound, outbound, and a short term. So I'm the team leader of the inbound stream. I'll talk a little bit about the university. So this is a sort of our Parkville campus, which is our kind of main signature campus. The University of Melbourne has 7 campuses around the state of Victoria, but this is the main kind of flagship, the largest campus. And this is the campus where probably 95 to 99% of study abroad exchange students will be taking their subjects. So depending on what you're studying, this is where you'll be studying here. And so you can see the kind of the outline shape there. Just to the south, because we're looking down towards the south here, towards Port Phillip Bay, that's the Melbourne kind of city district, the central business district right there. So we are the only university in Victoria which still has its own distinct traditional campus feel, but we are only about a 10-minute walk into the heart of the city. So you won't get that with any other university in Victoria as well. A few shots here. So that's another shot of, you can kind of see the kind of horseshoe shape of the campus there as well. So down the bottom here, these are all our residential colleges. So these are all different accommodation options around here. We've got the kind of sports precinct in the middle with our footy, cricket, oval, and then you've got the kind of track there. And then these are all the buildings where you would be taking your subjects. These are all the class study areas up here. So we do, University of Melbourne is Australia's second oldest university, founded in 1853. Which is not old by world standards, but for Australia, it's the second oldest that we have. We do have quite a mix of kind of old sandstone buildings, as you can see here, and also more contemporary state-of-the-art facilities as well. So it is a really good kind of mix when you're walking around campus to see the different facilities that you can walk around in. So just a few different shots here. These photos are all pre-COVID, I will say, as well. So yeah, not so much social distancing happening there. This is our South Lawn. This is kind of the central place on campus where students will go to meet, relax, do a bit of private study, play a bit of sport, a bit of frisbee, whatnot. And then that leads us onto our clock tower. Every good university has its own clock tower. This is the University of Melbourne's one. So this is a kind of good photo to see the kind of old traditional buildings. And in the back, you've got kind of the more contemporary facilities as well with the science area back there. And just some more photos of the campus. I will talk a little bit about the city of Melbourne. So Melbourne is the capital city of the state of Victoria, Australia's second largest city after Sydney. Although it's kind of on track to overtake Sydney around the year 2040, 2050. It is projected Melbourne will be the biggest city in Australia. Number of different reasons, mainly housing affordability. It's a bit cheaper to buy a house down here than it is in Sydney. So that's kind of one of the main things. Was voted the world's most livable city 7 years in a row, although it did lose out a couple of years ago to Vienna. So that's a key point of frustration for us Melbourneites here. Melbourne loves its kind of coffee and history culture. I don't know why they're flicking through so fast, but you can see we've got a lot of different little alleyways and laneways, and Melbourne has a real kind of cultural feel in terms of that kind of old European and going down little hidden alleyways and finding hidden coffee shops and little kind of art installations as well. Melbourne has more bars and restaurants per capita than any other city in the world. So regardless of which street you go down to or which kind of area of the city you go to, you're guaranteed to find somewhere to meet your friends, somewhere to have a coffee, have a drink, have a meal. So it's very excellent in that regards. A lot of art installations. So it's a very artistic, cultural, rich city as well. So we have a lot of this, what we call street art or kind of laneway graffiti. These are all commission works and they're all kind of hidden down different alleyways within the city. One of the subjects, which I'll talk about a bit later, which you can take is called street art, but you actually get to walk around the city of Melbourne and learn about the different history of those art installations as well. So I don't know why that's flicked through. That's flicked through very quickly. I will just give a quick COVID update as well, just to let you know how Australia is tracking. So our international border was closed for almost 2 years to the rest of the world, which was quite frustrating when you're working in international education like I am. But it has been opened now. So from this year onwards, essentially international students can return back to Australia. You must be fully vaccinated. Now, at the moment, that means having two shots of an approved, it's the same main ones you have: Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Moderna, Novavax, and also the Johnson & Johnson one, which I can't recall off the top of my head, has also been approved as well. Now, at the moment, that's 2 shots. I expect in the coming months the term fully vaccinated will change to having the 3 shots. So we are currently having the booster shot program in Australia. While 94% of the country is currently fully vaccinated with the 2 shots, we're sitting at around 35 to 40% of the 3 shots. So there is talk now in the kind of media and the news and within the governments as to when the definition will change to be 3 shots. So it's essentially by the time you guys may be looking at studying on campus, the term fully vaccinated may actually mean 3 shots. So just keep that in mind. And then there's a QR code there that you can scan, takes you to the University of Melbourne's COVID page. So we are working our way through it. Cases have increased once we opened our borders, obviously, but we are past the peak of the kind of Omicron outbreak at the moment, and we are tracking downwards. So generally having around 10 to 11,000 cases a day at the moment, which is on the way down from our peak. So I'll move forward now and talk about our study abroad and exchange program. So we have 2 main application rounds per year. Keep in mind the semesters are kind of the opposite to what you guys have in the Northern Hemisphere. So our academic year mirrors our calendar year. So students will start the academic year in February, and then they'll go until June. They'll have their winter break, and then they'll start the second semester in July to November. Now, in terms of from the University of Melbourne's perspective, you guys can come for semester 1, you come for semester 2, you can do 1 semester, you can do 2 semesters. We're very flexible. But keep in mind, you need to clear everything with Hayley first. Okay, so she's going to have more control over what you can and can't do, depending on your degree requirements. Now, we accept exchange places, and we also accept what we call study abroad or direct enrollment places as well. So with exchange, you do have to be nominated by Hayley, by the host institution, to receive one of those exchange nominations. What that means is you don't pay any fees to the University of Melbourne. All your tuition fees you still pay to Virginia. So keep that in mind. If it's a direct enrollment or what we call study abroad, it's kind of the opposite in that you don't specifically have to have a nomination. It does help you. So we still recommend you keep in main contact with your home institution. And the main difference with fees is you will be required to pay tuition fees to the University of Melbourne. Okay, and you don't pay fees to your home institution. So keep that in mind. We do accept both of those options. So there may be, depending on the different fees involved, maybe one or the other may be of a better fit for you. But if you have a chat to Hayley and her team, I'm sure they'll give you some more advice over to what's the preferable option for you. We do offer both undergrad, postgrad courses and subjects available. Now, generally, you must enroll in a full-time load. Now, a full-time regular load for our domestic students is 4 subjects per semester. We do allow our incoming study abroad and exchange students to maintain what we call a full-time load, but only take 3 subjects per semester. So that gives you a bit more time to enjoy yourself while you're on exchange, a bit more time to enjoy Australia's culture if you're doing less subjects. Keep in mind, you will get less credit back to your home degree. And again, you would need to clear that with your home institution as well. They may have a requirement that you do the 4 subjects, which to be honest, most of the incoming students will still do the 4 subjects. They still want to get the full amount of credit that they can get while they're on exchange. But we do have that option for some students. Some students just don't have the space in their degree to take 4 subjects. They only have 3 subjects remaining or the equivalency. So there's a few different options there. Because we are a large university, we do have quite a lot of capacity to add classes. So there are very few class quotas. So what that means is if you get approved for a particular subject, you're virtually guaranteed to be able to take it. So if you get approved for a subject and let's say the tutorial fills up, we'll just add another tutorial. So we have that capacity to add those classes to ensure that all students that have been approved can take those subjects. I'll talk a little bit about housing later on. So there is no requirement to live on campus. We do offer on-campus accommodation, as I mentioned in that picture before about the campus, the residential colleges, but there is quite a lot of different housing options available within Melbourne, even what we call private student accommodation providers. So I'll show you the housing link up here later on, but you can actually just Google student housing Melbourne and find a lot of private accommodation providers. So they're still registered providers and they still have been vetted and approved by the university, but because they're not university owned, they won't appear on the university website. So just keep that in mind. There are quite a few different options. So the main entry requirements to study on our study abroad exchange program. So we do require a minimum kind of cumulative GPA of at least 3.0. And then you must be at least in your second year of study by the time you arrive here. So you can you can apply while you're still in your first year, but you need to have completed at least two semesters of full-time study by the time you arrived in Australia to commence your exchange. Keep in mind, that's the basic entry requirements into the program. Depending on what subjects you wanted to take, each subject may have its own entry requirements as well, or prerequisite requirements in terms of previous study. So if you're doing second, third, fourth year subjects, there may be extra components you'll need to meet as well. And as you can see, as you can probably tell with the theme of this whole presentation, everything that you do must be approved by your home institution. Okay, so just because we have flexibility in terms of what we can receive doesn't mean you have the same flexibility in the terms of your independent or specific degree requirements. So just keep that in mind as well. Okay, so question we often get from students is, well, what can I actually study? And well, the answer is pretty much anything. So we do have quite a wide range of subjects and disciplines to choose from. You can mix and match in terms of faculties and disciplines. If you meet the subject entry requirements, you can take subjects from arts and music. You can take a humanities subject. You can take a computer science subject. As long as you meet the specific entry requirements, we don't have any kind of requirement that you must stick to a particular discipline or faculty. You can mix and match across the board. Okay, and we generally have any given semester anywhere between 4,000 and 5,000 individual subjects to choose from. So there is quite a range there because we are a large institution. Okay, and I'll talk a bit more now about how to find subjects that you may be interested in. You may have noticed that I keep calling them subjects. So the terminology is a little bit different than maybe what you're used to back home. Probably what you guys are used to calling courses, we will call subjects. So just keep that in mind when you're doing your research, and I'll show you later on why that's important. An example of a course here in Melbourne would be the kind of overarching program you're admitted to. So a Bachelor of Business, that's an example of a course. Master of Urban Planning, that's a course. And then within the course, you'll enroll in 4 separate subjects every semester. Students coming in will all be admitted to the either study abroad or exchange course. Okay, so hopefully that clears up that. I will talk, these are some popular subjects. So we find that when study abroad exchange students come to Melbourne, they do a couple of different things. They may do 1 or 2 subjects towards the major and then 1 or 2 subjects towards learning about Australian culture and history. So we find that when students travel halfway around the world, they tend to want to learn a bit about the country that they're spending the next few months in. So these are quite popular subjects that we've found previous study abroad and exchange students have taken. And you can see there at the top of that list is street art, which is the subject I was referring to earlier, where you get to actually walk around the city of Melbourne, learn about the different art installations, and the history and culture behind that, and how it kind of just organically grew over time from just probably one person just doing a little painting, and now it's everywhere in the city. And it's, I've lived here, I'm not originally from Melbourne, but I've lived here for about 10 years, and I still, if I'm walking, find stuff almost every day that is new and I haven't seen before in a little laneway or alleyway that I didn't know about. So yeah, it's very, very interesting to walk through that. And I actually joined the street arts, one of the walking tours, and it was just fascinating to learn about the history of it, even though I'm an Australian, but I didn't know a lot of it. So this is an interesting kind of development we have. So we find that one of the main pain points for students is finding subjects they can take in the time it takes to get subjects approved. So it is a kind of a 2-step process. So you'll apply to the University of Melbourne, and you may get if you meet the basic entry requirements, you've got a GPA over 3 and you've done 2 semesters of study, that's enough to get you an offer. Yeah, although depending on what subjects you've listed or told us within your application, there's a separate assessment process for those subjects to be approved. So it is a standalone process. You'll might get an offer to study here quite quickly, but it can take a little bit of more time to find out if your subjects have been approved, depending on what faculty you're taking as well. So some of the kind of higher up faculty, so like law, engineering, faculty of fine arts, they have an extra kind of layer of assessment, so they can take a bit longer to be approved. Now, what we find is some students are not interested in taking those subjects, but they can take one of these, what we call pre-approved subjects. And what that is a list of 400 subjects, or approximately 400 subjects, which don't have any prerequisite entry requirements, which means if you put them on your study plan, you're guaranteed to get approved for them straight away. And in fact, once you've been accepted into the program, you can enroll in them automatically. So there's no extra layer of approval. They're already pre-approved for you. So you can have a look through that list. If you can find 4 or 5 subjects that you're interested in, you can add them. onto your study plan, and then you can enroll on them virtually once you've been admitted into the program, even while you're still in the US. So it provides a bit of an extra layer of peace of mind if you do have the flexibility to take those kind of first, second year subjects. Cool. So I'll move on. This is our handbook, where you will find every University of Melbourne subject listed. So this is a really good resource that you will use over the next few months in terms of searching for subjects. You can see before where I said it was really important that you search for subjects and not courses. So that's the subjects that you want to be searching for there. If you click on the courses box, it will give you different results. So it's important that you search for subjects. And then you also have your different filters over here as well. So make sure you're looking at the current version. So that's obviously, it was 2020 when we made this document, but you can filter that to the 2022 handbook, which kind of year level or subject level as well. Study period as well is important because you want to filter it between semester 1 and semester 2. Not every single subject is offered both semesters. So you want to make sure you're looking at the applicable semester that you'll be studying here as well. Okay, a few different arrows. I thought about this. So that's the URL to find the handbook. I will actually say this is a good little tip. You can see that our kind of abbreviation is UniMelb, UNIMELB, so UniMelb. You can jump onto Google and anything that you're interested in, type in the word and then add UniMelb to the end, and it'll take you to the University of Melbourne website. So let's say you're interested in housing, type in housing UniMelb, it'll take you there. Sports clubs UniMelb, it'll take you to that appropriate page. What kind of COVID response, COVID UniMelb, it'll take you to the COVID page. Student visa UniMelb. So that's kind of a little tip that when you're searching for information, because it is such a large website, if you just type in that kind of abbreviation, it'll help you find the appropriate page. So obviously, this is very straightforward. There's a little search box there that you type in the words you're interested in. If you know the code or the subject name, you can type that in, or any kind of identifier that you're looking for. So, civil engineering or urban planning, things like that. You just type it into the search box to find the different results. And then it comes up down there. So once you found the subject you're interested in, you would click on Street Art and it would take you to the next page. Before we go to that, I am just going to show you this part here. There is extra fields that you can do to filter. And I think it's really important that when you go down the bottom, you do filter only subjects which are open to incoming study abroad or exchange students. So while we do have 6,000 odd subjects available for that semester, not every single subject is open to incoming study abroad and exchange students. So just keep that in mind. If you tick this box, it will filter the results more to show which subjects are open to you. You don't want to do all that research to find 4 or 5 subjects you love, only to note that a few of them aren't open to incoming students. Okay, so this takes us to the information subject page here. So Street Art. So a few things I'll point out here. A tip that I like to do is if you click view full page, it will have everything in just the one page and you can scroll all the way through. Otherwise, these kind of overview, eligibility, assessment, they're all different pages. You need to click through them. So if you click view full page, it's just one page. You can just scroll through. I think it's a bit easier for me. But a few things to note, further information, it'll say down here, excuse me, whether or not that particular subject is open to study abroad and exchange students. So if you haven't done that earlier filter, you can again have another look here and it will tell you whether or not that subject is open to you. Another thing you can look at is eligibility and requirements. So if there are any extra prerequisite entry requirements, it'll be mentioned under eligibility and requirements. You can look at the different assessment options. So is there a final exam? What's the percentage as well? Is there a midterm? Things like that. It will tell you what the assessment items are and kind of what the time. So there's, a lecture on Mondays, there's classes on Tuesdays. It will give you the actual timetable of what you can choose. So I'll move now into housing. So as I said before, there is quite a few different options available. This is Queen's College. So this is more of a kind of a traditional campus accommodation based on kind of the old Oxford, Cambridge style, where you have your own room and there's like a communal kitchen downstairs and you purchase a meal plan. So you don't cook anything. You just have your tray. You turn up and you get, lunch, dinner, breakfast, all provided for you. So they are a little bit more expensive, but they are close to campus. They are a walking distance to campus. And you do pay for an added layer of support. So they all have academic advisors, they have security, they have residential advisors, welfare officers. So you're kind of paying for that extra layer of support to live on campus. As I said before, that's the link to the university page. When you go to the university page, you can kind of enter in what you're looking for and it'll filter the results to what's available for you as well. So you can say whether you're looking for 1 semester, 2 semesters, you're looking for a shared facility or an individual room like studio type apartment. and then it'll tell you what options are available. Now, it will only tell you the housing options owned by the university. So as I said before, I can't promote it on the slide, but a little tip is if you just go onto Google, type in student housing, student accommodation, Melbourne, you will see some other private providers, which are all fine providers, and they're all above board, and they're all legally accredited and so forth. And they're all also within walking distance of the university as well. So, but instead of a 1-minute walk, it might be a 2-minute walk. So just keep that in mind. There are quite a few different options within the city of Melbourne as to where you can stay, depending on the style that you want and the budget that you have as well. This is a quick slide in terms of costs of living. So these are, this is on the website as well. I think this is designed for full degree students because I don't know many exchange students who are purchasing a car for 4 months. So I think it's kind of designed for students that are here for maybe 2 to 3, 4 years. But you can just gives you an idea of kind of what the prices may be in terms of your cost of living. One thing I will say for incoming study abroad exchange students is your cost of living is, connected to the experience or the lifestyle that you want to have. So if you want to go out and eat, at restaurants every night, you're going to have a more expensive cost of living than if you stay at home and eat with your roommates. So just keep that in mind. Melbourne sometimes gets a bad rap for being an expensive city to live in, but there are ways that you can save money depending on the lifestyle that you want to live. There are food markets right next to the university where you can get cheap food as well. When you come to Melbourne and you do our orientation, we actually have a session called Living Like a Local, and we tell you how to save money, how to budget while you're here in Melbourne. So it doesn't have to be an expensive way to live if you come here. So just keep that in mind. I'll talk about the kind of student experience. So when you do first come to the University of Melbourne, we do have a kind of compulsory welcome day where all students arrive on campus. We do a welcome briefing in the morning, and then we have a free lunch, and it's a chance for students to kind of mingle and meet each other as well. We do have quite a few student clubs. So because we are a large university, there is over 200 student clubs and societies to join. We really promote joining a club. It's the best way to integrate into the local Melbourne community. It's the best way to make friends with local students. So we do heavily promote, it's not compulsory, but we do promote students joining a club or a society while they're here in Melbourne. We do some coffee catch-ups throughout the semester. So generally, probably once every couple of months, we'll invite students to come and have a chat with us, and you get a free coffee out of it. Just a bit of a touch point to see how students are going. It's not compulsory, but it's just a little touch point to get students out and meeting with our global learning team. Okay, so we do also run different events and activities throughout the semester, although we'll have to see how they go post-COVID and how we run COVID-safe events on campus. That is a kind of space that's changing at the moment. So we still will run some events, but it just has to see how they fit into that kind of COVID-safe world in this kind of situation. Now, I will just quickly talk about Stop One. So Stop One's the kind of student service center. That's where you would go to get all your student support. And it's important to note that all study abroad exchange students, you have access to the exact same services and facilities that full degree students have access to as well. So everything that you can see here on the screen, you'll be able to walk into Stop One and get assistance with that. So the most ones that probably study abroad exchange students rely on are assistance with enrollment. So when you first arrive on campus, making sure your enrollment and your timetable is all sorted. And getting your student cards. That's the kind of the main support you receive. And then while you're here, you do also have access to the free counselling, disability support. So if you're in a situation where you need, assessments or kind of accommodations for your assessment, if you've been in a car accident or something like that, and you're in hospital for a period of time, we'll provide support with you. Someone will come visit you at the hospital and will provide you with welfare support throughout the whole experience. Okay, there is a health service on campus. So if you are sick, you can meet with a doctor or what we call a GP, a general practitioner on campus. They can prescribe medication if you require it. So that's all done on campus. So that is that support. You can meet with counselors. You can meet with psychologists. There's all that is provided on campus. If you need housing, so crisis accommodation, if your house burns down, which we have had a student that they had a house fire, we can provide temporary crisis accommodation. If you're experiencing any kind of violence at the housing provider that you're at, so we do have some students that engage in just like share houses, which are separate from the university or any kind of private accommodation provider. They just find a share house on Gumtree, which is probably the equivalent of like Craigslist in Australia. So they just go and find a house there, but it's not always the safest environment, but we can provide support for that as well. So That's the main reasons that students would enter Stop 1. We do provide an academic skills sessions for international students. So we find that some students coming from a different tertiary environment maybe aren't used to, or definitely aren't used to, or don't understand the Australian tertiary system and how the Australian university education system is managed. So we do provide an academic skills session during our orientation for incoming international students. So you keep in mind when you study in Australia, it's a bit different than maybe what you're used to back home. So there are less contact hours. So you may only have 3 or 4 hours of contact with your teacher a week, and the rest is private study. There are less assessment items. So there are some subjects which may only have 2 pieces of assessment, a major assignment and a final exam, both worth 50% each. So that may be different than what you're used to back home as well. Not every, only a couple of subjects are like that. Most subjects will have maybe 3 or 4 assessments, but most subjects will have a key percentage of the final exam. So whether it be 30, 40 or 50% of your entire mark will be based on the final exam. So that's something that not everyone's used to. So we do promote those academic school sessions as well. And then my team, the Global Learning team, is based in the Stop 1 building. So you can meet with us, meet with an advisor at any time as well. We are very accessible to incoming study abroad exchange students. We do feel like we have a real duty of care to the support and the kind of experience that you guys have while you're on campus. You'll get my email address, you'll get the team's email address, you'll have my phone number as well. So you can always email us, call us whenever and say, hey, can you pop down and have a chat for 10 minutes or so? And we're very accommodating like that. Just before I finish the session, this is our academic calendar. So semester 1, we're kind of gearing up for right now. So our welcome day is in a few weeks, which we're now preparing for. This is our first kind of main cohort after COVID. So we're going to have, generally, the University of Melbourne has around between 600 and 700 incoming study abroad exchange students per semester. For this semester 1, we're going to have around 250, which is not bad for the first intake after COVID and the first intake since borders have reopened. So hopefully once we get to 2023 and onwards, we'll start to see some growth back to the numbers that we had before, but it may take a bit of time. But yeah, that gives you an idea. One thing I will say, so the examination period there goes for 3 weeks. You do need to remain on campus during that time until you finished all your assessment items. So the kind of catch-22 is that the examination timetable isn't released until around week 9 of the semester. So when you first come to Australia, it's kind of, excuse me, it's kind of funny when international students come. They've been such a journey to get here to Melbourne. One of the first things they ask is, okay, so when can I leave? And it's like, well, you just got here. But obviously they want to go and they want to travel and have fun and so forth. If you have one final exam, it could be on the 6th of June, it could be on the 24th of June. You won't know at the beginning. So you need to keep your end date flexible as to when it is you can return home. Once you have finished your last exam, you are free to leave. You can get a taxi straight to the airport if you want, even if it's during that examination period, but you must remain here to take your exams until that last one. So we have some students who have all the exams in the first week, but some students have all their exams in the last week. So you just need to be flexible in your end date. So that's essentially the presentation that I had for you guys this morning or this evening. So thank you for sticking through it. We do have a blog there which has inbound and outbound students. So I highly recommend you jump on and have a look at that, and follow us on Instagram and all that, whatever those young people's social media things are that they do. But yeah, that's the presentation. I'll stop sharing my screen now.